So here I am, minding my own business, and I get this comment here on my last video, and it piqued my interest enough to where I wanted to make an Ayara deck. So that's what I did, and I built it in your typical aggro sacrifice shell, but it didn't really pan out like I wanted it to. So I went back to the drawing board, then it hit me. Boom. Let's make a theft deck. Ayara has an ability to let us sacrifice creatures, but it's not going to be our creatures we sacrifice, it's going to be our opponent. Intro to game 1. So I played Bitter Reunion, discarding this mountain, hoping that we would draw one more land out of those 2 cards, but we don't. And that's okay. Our opponent plays Shivan Devastator, hits us for 2, and we play our Swamp, and then we're going to play Ragavan, but we're going to dash him so we can get that hasty value off of him. And we get the treasure, and we get Check for Trap. Check for Traps basically says target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a non-land card from it and exile it. As much as I want to play that, I ended up not doing it because I didn't want to lose the treasure. So, goes to our opponent's turn, they swing with Shivan Devastator, they miss their land drop, which is very interesting. We hit the Fable's Passage, go search for a mountain, and then we play Swiftfoot Boots. And then we're going to play the Ragavan, and we're going to try to equip the Swiftfoot Boots. At this point, I'm assuming he has the kill spell, which he does, and that's kind of why I just threw Ragavan out there without the dash. Pass to our opponent, and they finally hit their land drop, and they play their commander, Mishra. They swing with Shivan Devastator, triggering the Mishra. The gain of life, we lose 3 life instead of 2, and it goes to our turn. We hit our land drop, get our mountain, and we're going to play Ayara, and we're going to equip the Swiftfoot Boots to Ayara. This allows us to steal the Shivan Devastator with Claim the Firstborn, swing in with it, and then we're going to sacrifice it to Ayara's ability, dealing a little extra damage on top of the Shivan Devastator damage, which also gains us a little bit of life in the process. So we pass the turn. Our opponent plays Liliana of the Veil, which means we're probably going to have to sacrifice our Ayara, which is very sad. We put her back in the command zone, and then our opponent plays Mind Spike and gets rid of our Meathook Massacre, which I'm not too happy about. They swing in with Mishra, and it passes to us. We play our Foreboding Runes, and then we're going to play Nightmare Shepherd, and equip the Swiftfoot Boots and swing at the Liliana, because Liliana is so annoying. And that's what you get for destroying our commander. We pass to our opponent, and they play Carter Doomscourge, which does not matter to us at all. It does make it so that we have to attack with the Nightmare Shepherd, but we weren't going to keep it back for blockers anyway. They swing with Mishra, and then it passes to us. We play our Black Clove Cliffs. Now we're going to play Invasion of Karsus. When Invasion of Karsus enters a battlefield, it deals 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. That's going to end up killing the Carter Doomscourge, and then we're going to swing at it with the Nightmare Shepherd. So we could actually flip it and cast the backside automatically, which is Refraction Elemental. It has ward pay 2 life. Whenever you cast a spell, Refraction Elemental deals 2 damage to each opponent. So this is going to come in handy, comboing this with Ayara's ability to sacrifice creatures. We pass the turn, and our opponent plays Jadar, Ghoulcaller of Nephalia, which gives them 2 extra bodies on board. They don't swing and they pass the turn. We play our land drop, and Act of Treason is the only card left in our hand. And the game plan is to play the Act of Treason, steal the Mishra, Refraction Elemental triggers, play Ayara, Refraction Elemental triggers again, and then equip the Swiftfoot Boots onto Ayara so we can swing in with everything and then sack the Mishra. But our opponent had other plans, and they kept an Abrade up. And I'm wondering why the Nightmare Shepherd didn't trigger here, which is why I'm looking at the board state. But I ended up just swinging out and doing my thing anyway, hoping to gain at least enough life to survive. We pass the turn, and they play their land drop. It's sad that we can't sacrifice the Mishra, because that's when they play Skitterbeam Battalion, and they actually end up winning the game off of that one play. So with this fresh deck in mind, I also lose to this Atraxa deck. Go back to the drawing board, and now we're up against Etali Primal Conqueror. Wait, you didn't think I was actually gonna make a video and not have a win in it, did you? Before I fast forward this clip, Dark Ritual into Ayara is good stuff. We're gonna fast forward this all the way up until the point where they play Etali. All they're doing is really ramping, and we're just hitting them for 3 with Ayara. Nothing too crazy. They ramp into Etali, and I'm shaking in my boots. Some Etali players expect you to just concede on cast, but we're not gonna do that. They hit our Junji, and they hit their Destiny Spinner, and they pass the turn to us. We play our Mana Confluence, and then I'm going to play Act of Treason on Etali. And then before I sacrifice Etali, I'm going to feed the Swarm the Junji. And I was pretty confident that he was going to make us discard, so that's why I destroyed it. We did take a chunk of life there off of us, but that's okay. We swing with Etali, and then we're going to sacrifice it, doing 14 damage. 1 from the swing and 1 from the a Yara ability. We also gain 7 life. And we gain all that life that we just lost, and we pass the turn. They play Morag, and then they end up playing their land early. And I think with Morag, you have to play your land on the second main phase, or you won't have double combat phases. I think our opponent is also just as confused. They cycle Migration Path, hoping to get something. They pass the turn to us, and we play a Crowan War. And at this point, we can just swing with a Yara, or we can activate her ability, and we win. Now, this game against Italy didn't go quite as well as the last one. Our opponent just got really overwhelming, and we kind of missed our land drops as well. They also ended up playing an Ulamog at the end of this game, and there was no way we're getting out of that one. But what happens when a Yara actually gets shut down? In this game, we play Scornblade Berserker. Scornblade Berserker has backup 1 and pay 1 mana, sacrifice this creature, and draw a card. I will admit, I read this card wrong, and you'll see the misplay here in a sec. So we get the Berserker on board, and it's a 1-2 now thanks to the backup. Pass to our opponent, and our opponent just plays a blue land and says go. Pass it to our turn, we play a mountain, and then we play Vron, Executioner, Thane. Vron says whenever one or more other creatures you control die, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. This ability triggers only once each turn. We swing on our opponent and pass the turn. They play a Fabled Passage, and then they go fetch a Plains, and then they pass the turn to us. We play our Foreboding Ruins and reveal a Swamp, and then we play Altar of Dementia. Sacrifice a creature, target player mills cards equal to that sacrificed creature's power. This is another key piece for us, and if we can't get a Yara to trigger, we will always have the Altar of Dementia, which we can trigger at instant speed. We swing at our opponent, and we pass the turn. Our opponent plays a Swamp, and our opponent plays Quasar without any mana up, which is something you definitely don't want to do in a Quasar deck. They pass the turn, and not fearing a counterspell, we play Pax Betrayal, and we're going to swing out here, and then, what do you know? Here comes the misplay. I activate the Scornblade Berserker's ability, thinking that we can sacrifice Quasar to it, but I read it wrong, and Scornblade Berserker just sacrifices itself. No harm, no foul, because we actually gain a life off the draw, and then we're going to sack the Quasar to the Altar of Dementia. They mill 3 lands and pass the turn. They play the Wandering Emperor, and I know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to -2 it and kill our Vron. We're going to sack the Vron to the Altar of Dementia, just for the hell of it, and make them mill cards. They pass the turn to us. We're going to play Captivating Crew to kind of scare them a little bit. We pass the turn, they +1 the Wandering Emperor, and they leave mana open, and they don't hit their land drops. They pass the turn back to us. We swing at the Wandering Emperor, and they play Vanishing Verse. We're going to sack the Captivating Crew to the Altar of Dementia and mill them, and then we're going to throw out a Yara, hoping that we can have a Yara stick around for next turn and swing on the Emperor. They play Dovin Bond, and they +1 him, and Dovin makes it so our Yara is a -0, -3, and we cannot activate her abilities, and they make a Samurai token with double strike. They pass the turn, and we play Act of Treason on that Samurai token, so we can actually swing at the Emperor and make it go bye-bye. We're also going to play Diabolic Intent on the Samurai token, sacking it, and we're going to go search for something. Now I'm looking for something that could possibly help us against this Dovin Bond. I thought I had the Elder Spell in here, but that was in my previous build that I did. And so since we really couldn't find anything to help, I ended up getting Swiftfoot Boots just for the protection and haste. We end up passing the turn, and then they target a Yara with Dovin Bonds +1. They play Thirst for Discovery, discarding 2 cards, and they get a land drop finally, and they pass the turn to us. We play our land, play Swiftfoot Boots, equip him onto a Yara, and then we play Bank Job, kind of setting ourselves up for future turns. And now we have the protection, so we pass. They play Day of Judgment, which I really think is a waste of a board wipe, just to get rid of a Yara, but whatever. We're going to sacrifice a Yara to the Altar of Dementia. They mill some cards. They +1 Dovin, and they pass the turn. We hit a Drivnod off of our Bank Job. We're going to play Drivnod, equip the Swiftfoot Boots, and we're going to swing at Dovin. At this point, opponent is really out of things to do, I assume, because they just quit. Here's the deck list if you guys want to check it out. The deck list will be in the description below. Catch the next one.